Last time, I think what happened last time on Friday was I forgot to hit start broadcast or go live. You can start streaming but not go live. So now I'm actually live and last time. There it is. Okay, good. I think what happened last time on Friday was. I'll pause my YouTube here. Okay, hey, how's everybody doing? Look, still here, still alive, still going, still got a pile of printers, still cranking away on Marlin code, and that's why we're here. I've been playing with AI a lot to see what I can make it do. Let me get sorted out with I don't know. I'll be more on point if I have all my ducks in a row. I gotta get my other microphone, which is wireless, and then I might have to take a break and use the restroom. But look, hey, I'm on YouTube. Check it out. It's been a while. I've been broadcasting a lot on Twitch and nobody shows up, and then I forget to. You only get a week, so I don't know. I've been forgetting to like archive them on YouTube, and then I'm like, I'd like to edit them, make them shorter. They're boring. But let me see what I can do here. We won't be needing the whiteboard, so I'll unplug that. I have a nice little wireless thingy. This will just make it easier to move around, which I probably have to do. I'm only going to do this, be on here with you guys for an hour, so I just wanted to catch up, say hi, let you know I'm still going. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of changes, and Marlin is no longer at the forefront of what people are buying and talking about and all that on the interwebs, which in a way is kind of useful. So we can focus on what is important to us right now, which is, we've got a lot of code, big bunch of code that we got to fix up and make more modern and get ready for the next generation of, single boards and whatever else comes along. Us and RepRap firmware are still around. We're still doing our thing. We still count. Okay, there we go. Now you can hear me twice. Let me mute that. There we go. Sorry about that. Hi. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna probably want to get more coffee too. That's gonna be another thing. So you'll have to excuse me. This is, it's all very casual. But yeah, I wanted to catch up with you all and let you know what's been going on. So yeah, I've been taking a little bit of a sanity break and just like working on some other types of code to kind of remember what it's like to work on different types of projects that have different levels of control over. And that's been fun, kind of like dipping into retro code, playing around with AI to see what I can script and make it do, and see if I can make programs that do smart things using LLMs as helpers in some way. It's all a very interesting trick to get those things to do what you want. So I've been also mostly focused on local LLMs because I don't have a lot to spend on tokens. So I've been using the smaller local LLMs as much as possible, and that's been good. Let me bring this up while we're here. Marlin Firmware has a documentation panel now, which I guess I'm going to have to show it. We'll build Marlin docs. Where is it? ABM build. Oh, I might not have the right version open. I should have the right version. Oh, there it is. Docs view. There we go. So I'll show you this a little bit. I've showed this off on the Twitch streams, but I haven't showed it off to you guys on YouTube probably a little bit. So you've probably already seen that Auto Build now has a nicer config editor that you can use, and the documentation is built into it to a large extent. I do mean to bring this over to the website, but I want to clean up the website and do a new design and stuff. I've got that going on. There's a whole pile of things happening. It's now a RepRap, firmware again, or I should say RepRap firmware and Marlin are RepRap firmwares again, focused primarily on your RepRappers. And so between Duet and us, it's like, a big focus on that. Victory Tech is still with us. I lost a big whale of a donor who was been a long time champion of open source and really made a big difference in the 3D printing industry and like introducing reliable printers early on, but based on RepRap designs. Uh, and it was a privilege to have him as a donor for a while and kept us going. But we're all moving on to different pastures, and open source isn't necessarily the way for everyone. So we don't have that as much as we used to. Oh, I'm supposed to have the chat hooked up. I did, see, let me make sure I've got my chat hooked up here. I think with the YouTube I had the last time I did it, I had to put in a token. I had to go find a token for it. Um, Let me see. Interact filters properties, please. No. Hold on while I grab this chat here uh, and modify it. I do last time. I know I did this right last time. YouTube chat. What do I do with it? Interact, refresh. I can interact with it. Okay, well that's not fun. Get the properties of it. Maybe if I lock it, I can still interact with it. Can I interact with it? Locked. What am I interacting with now? If I grabbed that, and that. Sorry, I just want to have a chat up here so I can interact with you all. But hold on. It might be under settings. No, it was definitely a thing. I don't know what's going on. The window isn't showing up properly. Hi. Um, and then right now I'm doing a big copy, so my system might be a little slow, a little sluggish across the network. So I've got an old version of Xcode I want to try out on one of my old laptops. All right. Yeah, so in general, working on things like, this for auto build, make that experience better. This also has, if I hide this, when it's a certain size, it gets a nice little side navigation, so you can just go to the sections you want. You can hide the things you don't have enabled, so you can much more quickly get to the options you care about in your particular Marlin firmware. And this is all just part of Auto Build Marlin, which is a plugin for Visual Studio Code. And you'll be using this to build Marlin and now configure it. I've still got a lot of tweaks to do on this. I've been working on this for years. So little by little, but part of it is just parsing the Marlin config files is a big hassle. They're all, written in C++ or, C style stuff. And then they're nested and there's conditions, and figuring out which things are enabled based on which other things are checked and so on or what their values are it's tricky. So I had to come up with a system for that. And now that I have that, it's kind of like I can use that to build the documentation. But now, of course, we also have LLMs, so I'm getting a little of their help. Not as much as I'd like, because it would be great if I could just give it all to them and be like, here's the files, right? Turn it into Markdown. It doesn't do that. It's not good at that. It chokes. You can give it bits and pieces, and it sort of does a pretty good job. You show it how, give it some examples. One way to do it is to kind of like let it do it badly, fix it up, and then just collect a few of those into a document. But I'm getting better at that. I'm learning how to take my prompts and put them into a document and say, here's a document. Figure it out using this stuff in here. This all explains it. Go from there. Excuse me. The coffee is going to help with that in a minute. The other thing I need to do is probably get some good light in here. This isn't doing me any favors. Also, more lighting is better for the camera. It's working hard. Um, okay, so let me get sorted out, make sure I have all the apps I need open. We've got OpenWebUI ready. I've been using GPT OSS mainly lately. It's been really reliable and it does a good job of not thinking too hard, doing a good job of laying things out in advance of coming up with an answer, and then at the end giving a good summary. And it makes tables and bulleted lists a lot. You probably, if you've used it, you know. And it doesn't get in the way. It's a bit of an older model, I guess, compared to, like its current knowledge isn't great, but it knows about things like, Python. So that's where it helps me, scripts and doing things like that. Let's see. I never did get that chat window sorted out. I think that's because, yeah, OBS is just weird that way. Yeah, anything I try to open, it doesn't show. It may just be because, oh wait, yeah, no, it won't refresh. Oh, darn it. I really wanted to have it in there. Is there any way I can change it? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, good, the Xcode thing is done. Mm, virtual camera, blah, blah. Yeah, I guess you have to get it pre-set up. Well, I'll just use YouTube itself. I'll open it up and open to the page. I think it may already be open to. Let's see. Nope, but it's in my history. Get it preset up. Right. Well, I'll just use YouTube there. Oh, look, no one's here chatting. Good. Perfect. That makes it easier to tell. And also I can pause this, so that's fine. The live chat will continue, I hope, even as it's paused. Also, I will turn this in. I guess I can't turn it into a mini player. Weird. Let's see, is there anything else I can do with my chat? We can do like things like the pop-out chat and get the URL and use like the old school chat method. I won't be doing that. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Okay, since there's no one here, I'll do some more stuff. I'll get some lighting, get properly set up, and I'll catch up with you guys. It'd be nice to have this out there. The 2.13 version has been a long time waiting. I know we've got the third beta out. We've been slowly tweaking the new motion system. Someone found some apparent bad aliasing possibly that could be causing some issues, so we're going to look at that. Maybe we won't tonight, but in general, the team, we're going to look at that more. And but we can, again, this is a very new feature, and I don't expect everyone to suddenly adopt it. But those who want to use really advanced input shaping and tune it in Octoprint on their Marlin-based printers will have that option going forward after this is out there. And there's been a lot of waiting for us to get it together. So I feel like I should just put it out, and some things, of course, are not going to be completely 100% perfect. That's why we have dot releases, point releases. So I'm not going to worry too hard. The next thing is the great thing about the release is it'll liberate us to have our 2.2 version tree and start on basically a lot of refactors and modernizing of the code base, and maybe even ripping out a lot of stuff and sort of figuring out new ways to put it back in. I think I'd like to take that approach to a large extent. So yeah, there's going to be a big rewrite, but so funding slowing down, it sucks because there's still the same amount of work, and yet it's just not the companies is involved. So really relying on the community to keep it together for us while we build this, for your motion systems and your lasers and other things that you might not necessarily want to use Clipper for. Maybe Clipper is getting better for that. I'm sure over time it will. But we have something which, at least again, for a something that works on a single board, and which then you can couple with, you know, other types of hardware than you might necessarily do with a Raspberry Pi based or a bigger board that has a Raspberry Pi chip on it, or whatever. So there's a lot to think about for sure. Anyway, let me get on with this next piece of the puzzle. Be right back. Like, I'm on one day, off not off the next. So one day I'll have, full meals, and then the next day I just have quarter of that, quarter calories. That seems to help my gut in a way, and I don't know, my energy's been better. Been losing a little weight, and it's been good. So I don't know. Overall, health is important. It's the most important thing. Can't work yourself to death. Uh, so as much fun as it is, linting and formatting, blah blah blah. So I've been asking agents to like do things to help me out, and the most recent one I used was Codex, which will write up an agent's file for you as one of its initialization functions. But it also then it fills in a placeholder file for you. Um, and yeah, if you look at it, you can kind of see what it's about. And it's probably not all correct. Oftentimes I have to correct these things. They're not quite right. But like that's not right. Oh wait, no, wait, for configurations it might be, but not for this thing. So yeah, gotta definitely correct it, and basically, like, I could write this up, but it's for the agents to use, and then they're gonna follow it and screw more things up, I guess. It's a hard time. I'm not completely trusting the world of AI agents at this point. They don't completely. Whoops, sorry. Gotta mute that. They don't completely make the grade at this point. They're helpful. I mean, they're really helpful. I've been getting a lot of useful things out of them. Hmm. Don't mistake me. They're very useful, and but they still do all the bad things that you don't want them to do. Just when you don't want them to do it, and there's still a lot of trial and error, a lot of like hand holding, and you have to check their work. And so it's like, you know, your work gets done twice. It's not a fun process. It's fun when you first start out and you get an interesting result, like you get a great result. But then when you ask it to do more, that's when it starts falling apart a bit, and it starts to break things that it already had right. And you're like, no, you had that right. Don't touch that. What you really want to do is, like, and probably some of the tools are doing this, is you have like you can grab a little marker on the left side of your, like say you had this piece of code and you were like, oh, I'm really happy with this blob right here. Select it and say, mark that, don't touch. And it would like look at it, it would use it in its input, but it wouldn't be allowed to modify it. It would just leave it alone. And it would be told, you're not going to touch that. And it would know that it was not going to touch it. It would probably still want to try. You'd have to tell it no. But that's fine. You do what you can do. You do what you have to do. Uh, I have a lot of ideas, not as dumb as that one, about these tools and about how they could be instructed better, especially in systems of agents where they do have access to tools. Um, Certain things you want to tell LLMs right now are like, never try to calculate numbers. Just write the Python code to do it, and then we'll go over that, and then you can use that to calculate numbers, or maybe you can write the little JavaScript code that it can run in the browser, or whatever it happens to be doing. There's a lot of ways to approach it. So anyway, let's take a look at what we've got in the GitHub desktop pile tonight. Just, just give you an idea. I'm still just going along. Throw that away. doesn't do a great job. I probably used GPT OSS for that, or maybe another model. But now exposing this setting, which was already in there, but now you just set the number of milliseconds to delay between when you're first doing sensorless homing or probing. There's like a little delay when it sets it up, um, and starts the homing. Gives it time to settle, basically. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else I've been working on. 28030. Oh, this is an interesting one. This is I was talking about with the fixed time motion system. We are little by little fixing things. This isn't per se. This is just a workaround for, or maybe it's a fix, but it doesn't seem to necessarily work for everyone. Uh, but the issue is that you can't use fixed time motion for homing or probing for some reason, because of quirks in the handling of end stop signals or whatever. And maybe it has to do with the resonances. I'm not sure. That shouldn't say resonances. Maybe they are resonances, but they're up above in the higher range of human hearing. So it's like not the kind of thing that's going to leave visible artifacts on your print per se, because the oscillations are too small. But they're uh, basically it's like a whining sound that you might hear uh, sometimes when controlling motors with a fixed time system. Because you can imagine there might be a consistent pulse that's always at the same frequency. Whereas with other types of motion systems, they might be less consistent. There might be more white noise in them, or pink noise, or whatever kind of noise is introduced by our system of just-in-time stepping that we use in Marlin. It's a very interesting code base overall. I think it'll be fun as we go forward to do more of like giving you guys video content about the code base, and especially as I'm modifying and reforming it. There's one particular uh, thing that's being done that I'm working on, which is like this thing to allow us to use any LCD with any board, which is the idea. There's a lot of there's a lot of hardware out there. We don't want you to throw it away. Like, yeah, you're gonna have maybe everybody's gonna switch to Clipper all of a sudden, but then there's gonna be this pile of screens that no one's using or other things. So we've got to, they're going to be paired with other. We want to be able to pair them with other boards, and just, in whatever other project you're doing. Maybe you want to use a teensy board with some, dog-M display or some obscure serial display or whatever. We'll make that a possibility, and then you can, use your own whatever, program a TJC display the way you like, and then have it connect and use the Marlin as your motion system on a small board in a smaller device. So yeah, all kinds of ideas like that we'll be exploring. So it's definitely not dead. uh, it's definitely waning. I'm on the edge right here of what I can afford. I have enough saved to kind of last for some months. So I'm going to continue to move forward with what I can do here, and get out, explore a bit, mingle, uh, maybe take some jobs here and there. We'll see what happens. But overall, it's like I really want to continue focusing on this and other code projects that connect to it. If you guys know Richard Horn, he's a guy who kind of provides like he's one of those bridges between the retro world and the 3D printing world, and I definitely am also one of those bridges because I came to this world and did retro, like Atari programming and Amiga programming in the days when it wasn't retro, when it was contemporo. And now it's like I'm going back to that a lot and exploring what I can use AI to help, like with those types of projects. And so that's going to be kind of a fun exploration. And I also have all these 3D printers still around, so it's like, can I make devices and things that involve code, 3D printing, emulation, Yes, I can see how those would connect. Like you could imagine using some of the boards you used to use for 3D printers and turning them into, say, little handheld devices that do other things, like games or emulate things. And how far can you get with say, an AVR processor, which is 16 megahertz? Can it emulate uh, a processor like a 6502 or whatever that runs at 1 megahertz, like, or two, like you had on your Ataris and your Commodore 64s and things like that? So that's an interesting thing to explore. And that between that and controlling the screen that you have attached, and like, what if you get an OLED from your printer and then attach it, and so it'll be fun to play with that kind of stuff. We'll finally get out the scope and do more things with that. Um, and yeah, it'll be a fun time. So stick around. I'm entering the realm of Gearling and others in this kind of like uh, exploring areas that are new to me, and I'm learning as I go. And then as I learn, I'll share what I can with you guys. Uh, anyway, coding, coding, coding all day long. So let's take a look and see if there's any response to this on the old GitHub. See where we're at with this one. Uh, Narno, it's always very helpful. And oh, yeah, we're still waiting for some feedback. I guess I might have to do some testing on this one myself as well. But in general, I mean, it was never broken for me. I didn't find that I had, well, I shouldn't say that. The old solution worked, and if this new solution also works, then I can't say, one way or the other. It this is meant to get around, well, someone's saying, Keith in particular, who's reliable source. It'd be nice to get this latest code tested and have more hardware combinations tested. Yeah, so it didn't work for him. Uh, and in general, like the workaround which we had, which is just turning off. So this is fine. We don't have to necessarily put it in right now. It does need testing. It's marked as needs testing, so we can move on from this. Let's move on and see if anything new has popped up in the last few days, because I probably made a typo here and there. There's always something. Let's see. That's not one of my typos. Those little X's aren't necessarily my typos. I'm gonna need more coffee for this. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm supposed to mix caffeine and creatine, but I also had some orange juice that I remembered I put a lot of creatine in. So woo, woohoo! Maybe retaining water. FT motion, optimize move disk. Now, this was one of the ones that I was looking at. The update. This is another one related to fixed time motion, and another one from Nerner. Nerner. And this one's latest thing is advice. Oh yeah, we just need to make sure things are wrapped. I think I did some wrapping as well. Yeah, now we could do this, and that's fine. I don't mind the extra line. And this also, then, yeah, it's not a big deal, but in general, and I think I did that. Okay, this all looks fine to me. So let me see if I can describe this more generally rather than this is what the code does. Like database people, like, I don't know, I'm trying to find an analogy. When we're trying to describe the code, we should really be describing it more in terms of what it does. Store the distance for all axes in the dist millimeter, right? What for FT motion? Oh, I see what's going. FT motion. Optimize, and where was this in? This is in the loading of the block data. All that. Let's call it that. Let's say we're optimizing. Optimize FT motion. Load block data. I don't know. I think I might have done this, some of this. I'm sure. But I won't take any credit on this one. Let's call this a optimization. Ever so slightly. I got a special icon for optimization. I got to make these things more accessible to myself. They look like this. Oop, a little lightning bolt. Get them occasionally. But yeah, I'd like to have a little, I should have a little selector right here for my favorite emojis. All right. All that done. Look, see, things are happening here in Marlin. It's not dead. We are not switching. We've got things to do, a lot of things. And this was, yeah, the unstable step rate being discussed. I think that was when I was just looking at. I want to look at it again. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, see, here's what we're talking about. This is the kind of feedback I always enjoy. And David Waves says never disappoints. Very noisy. A logic analyzer shows clearly how it fails to generate a constant pulse rate pulse. Darn it. Well, yeah, that's what we're looking for. It's expected that it generates 2 rate bands since it can only produce rates which are integer fraction. But it shouldn't generate half a dozen. There were 3 main problems. Bresenham error is reset between slices. Oh yeah, we had some discussion about this on Discord. So if you're not familiar with the Bresenham algorithm, that's just it's a nice way of making ratios and then expressing them. So in say a line slope, using it to do a line drawing, and you can use integers and get behavior that looks just like fractions, but it's always fractions of rational. It's rational fractions, so it's really handy. So we use it to decide, make sure that each other, and so the line goes in a diagonal with 2 motors doing the motion and so on, maybe more. So yeah, that's what that's about. But it is reset between slices, which is yeah, I can see what they're talking about. Like in terms of slices, time slices, you want to have, if say you're drawing a line and you're having a counter and you're counting down in between bits, and then you're chopping it up, and now you have many little counters, and now those counters aren't as accurate or as have as much resolution as the one that had bigger numbers, that had that, for example, and if you had 2 lines that were meeting up in a certain way, you would want the one that ends to line up and finish off in such a way that you can tell if you took a a distance look that the things had ever been chopped up. In this, I think what's happening is you can tell they're chopped up because they don't align. They're much chopped. So yeah. Now get into a little more, but the Bresenham denominator is calculated, which is number of basically used added on each iteration. So any error accumulated in one slice is compensated by going faster in the next one. So you need a fractional error variable. That would be one way to do it. No, I can't imagine another if the slicing is necessary and there's no other way to do it except, yeah, I mean, one way to do it would be maybe to store, I mean, it still involves storing a number. I don't want to do it on a per slice basis if I can avoid it. So yeah, it accumulates error across the thing and it goes too slow, which is then corrected later by going too fast. Yeah. So this PR fixes them like so, right? This is from 7 hours ago, guys. So it's good. We've been discussing this and we're looking for an answer, and I hadn't even begun to dig in. So thank you, David. Drink some coffee to you. So here, this keeps an error vector across the slices as a static variable. It calculates the delta as the trajectory of one minus the one behind times the steps per millimeter, which keeps rates consistent across slices. Step error doesn't accumulate since it's kept across slices. The only disadvantage is that after any move, you could be plus or minus one step away from the target, which only happens once per direction change, so it doesn't accumulate. I understand what you mean. It basically means that the count is off by one, but it makes up for it next time you move in the other direction, I think is what you're trying to say. It's a one-step backlash issue. I mean, maybe we can fix that because off by one is often just a question of bad logic. Maybe, doing something in a different order. Maybe we can figure that out. Or doing an add one before you divide by two instead of dividing by two and taking that. Sometimes that does the trick. It depends on the situation. Renamed variables and functions to be more representative makes many comments unnecessary. I would have left them as they were, but they're having a hard time understanding. I understand. I mean, if anything, I may, take that part right away before. Yeah, and thank you, Narno. And it has conflicts which are awaiting a resolve. So let us resolve those. Sure, it involves this number which we just fixed up. 28043. So git fetch, do that. And we'll do a merge. Conflicts, it says so. There may be faster ways that people go about this, but let's see. So current block dist mima is what's currently, and I think this maybe, I see, you changed it. Is pause from position. I gotcha, okay. I think what we really want is to keep that and that. Solve our conflict. Anything else? Let's take a look at the rest. I guess that's the else. This is fascinating stuff. The motion system that we have been using. This actually makes it, in some sense, a little more like the motion system of Clipper, which runs in a loop, and to avoid the overhead of interrupts and some other things. It's pretty cool if you look at the way Clipper works, especially on the board that's on the printer side and the way it interacts. And then the way that they set up the build system so that it could have little placeholders in the code that then get filled in during the link phase, or it's pretty cool stuff. You have to check it out. But clever things happen in the make file stage, basically. What I'm saying, and it produces essentially the same binary for every board, even though it doesn't have to like worry about a lot of the details of the hardware because it just glosses over and doesn't use them. But for the parts that it does use, everything is pluggable. It could use more and more as it goes along. Take advantage of the fact that some of these chips have built-in CAN bus or whatever else. We'll continue on that trajectory. We've got CAN bus going on in Marlin. It's just nobody's really taken the hugest advantage of it, except maybe Big Tree Tech is probably on top of that to some extent. So this is an interesting one. Is as long as these are I don't know. I don't too much mind this kind of stuff, but the renaming it can be inconvenient for others who are like working on stuff. Not that I'm not guilty of that. And also, I don't think we necessarily need to change the comments. Not always clear that one comment follows another one. But yeah, I can see what you mean. Like, they do though. That's fine. Another one. Where were they before? Right up there. Yeah, they were there before. Well, more space, more the merrier. A Raj consume IDX. See if it makes the most sense to be called that. And see what it's doing. Input, output, that kind of thing. Seconds of time since start of block. Distance traveled. Fascinating, fascinating. Okay, these are points of style. I really need to get into the logic. It's sort of the first thing I look at, and one of the things is just the renaming is just want to make sure they really do make sense in terms of things, and that we're all on the same page, sort of about what they mean. I know again, not doesn't sound like me. I know I don't sound like myself. See. So yeah, the way this particular motion system works is I haven't. Hey, Australia, what's going on? Yeah, I wouldn't know. The way this particular motion system works is it sort of pre-calculates where the steps and directions are going to be in regular time, and then it just makes a big old string of ones and zeros, and basically just runs those as direction and step signals. but it requires a big buffer to do it, and a lot of pre-calculation. The advantage of that approach is that it allows it to separate the stepping and direction stuff from the calculation stuff, and thereby produce a more optimized binary. Um, I don't know where these belong. Line up everything just so it's pretty. All right. Style, blah. So let's read the code and get used to it and see what's going on. So the advantage of that also is that it can do all that input shaping and so on. Is block in progress. I'm not sure that's what this really means. Block proc ready actually means that it's got something ready to be processed, not is block in progress. I don't think that's the right, no, I don't think that's the right name. Let's just revert that one at least. Hate to be doing it, but does not mean is block in progress. It might in certain contexts mean that, but not all of them. So let's see, let's pick line 56 then. Right, and reset when it's completely converted. Is loaded from, I gotta think about this one. Gotta think about this one a little bit because the description does make it sound like it's supposed to be that. It is in progress. I mean, is that what it really means? Let's see. We're setting them all false there. When is it set to true? Let's see. Quick trip down memory lane here. One place it's set to true is here. After it upsteps the end obs, it says okay. While not ready. Load block data. Now. Let's see. So here it would continue. I don't know. Oh, I see. It's doing it there, which is an interesting spot to do it. Also, yeah, it really sticks out as being like a weird place, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Look at that. Why is it there? Right there. After unputting end stops. I mean, if it's related to loading of block data, should it be? But it does say it marks, but it does not going to do anything differently. Um, which shortly marks, well, actually it'll shortly, but not now. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's discard that. Let's put this in the pile. Yeah, it's tough when you're like going through this digestive stuff. I was feeling real low, but also the sudden loss of funding is like definitely put me in the doldrums for a while there. It's like the height of summer. I'm supposed to be having fun. I can't even go outside. It's 100 degrees. But God damn it, need to get out, need to have fun. But I'm having fun tonight. Having fun with you, catching up, letting you know that we're still working hard. Working hard in front of you all, showing off all my coding nonsense. It's great to see you from Australia. Great to see you. Yeah, I got you earlier. But I'm getting you again. Hi, Australia. What's going on? Uh, Working hard, hardly working. And just, let's see, I'm kind of contemplating whether this means what it means. Does this really mean what it says it means? And does it mean, and should I move it to a different spot? We can always rename it again. I'm just gonna, I think what I want to do is move this, because that's the other thing I want to do. Well, why is it there and not here? I mean, we're doing, well, I don't know, FT Motion knows what it's doing. Still, we need to make a note on what this is for. Why does this even exist? One of the things it'll do is it'll get us out of this loop. That's really, I think, its only purpose is to mark the block as ready. One of the things that the one thing I see is that it's always going to do it unless continue happens, and that's why I kind of think it really belongs here. But I think also the better place for it would be there. Nothing's going to happen as far as interrupt goes. Until it gets to this part is, okay, now this is kind of confusing me. Okay, I see. Well, this could clear it, so make a note of that. Yep. And we can even check that just to be sure. I mean, it's not like I've memorized all this code. I always feel a little like a fool on these things, and I'm like, I gotta look things up. Oh, why don't you know, man? You know your own code? No, no, I do not. So much of this is like this came from Ulendo, and they're great, you know, to have composed so much. We did rewrite a lot of it, so I know it to an extent what's going on, but it was so much of it was just copy paste 100 times for all the different axes and then consolidate over and over, and it was really a process. I didn't necessarily memorize all the logic that was going on in the code itself, but I tried to preserve it, and that was the main thing. And sometimes, if I could, optimize it, but not without, not yeah. Hopefully, not messing things up. That's the real trick. I'm like, hello, where's the audience here, man? Hello, hello, hello. Well, this is just to let you know, still here, still working on Marlin for the RepRappers, for the hobbyists. Keep it going for those single board people who want to make something small and low power with a, I'm finding I've got one of those LCDs that does, the basic, 128 by 64 display, but really small. I love it. I'm going to start using those on everything and make little things. I don't know. We're going to have some fun. Hey, welcome back. We're getting a lot of hellos, which is great. It makes me feel less alone. Now I just need to figure out what the heck I'm doing. So at this point, we were checking out, again, this code and just trying to figure out what the purpose of that flag was. I just wanted to move it a little bit and did so. I'm going to amend my last commit and hopefully not annoy contributor. because I am about to merge this probably, if it feels solid, according to my worst judgment. Um, so yeah. Gaussian, so this is changed now. So here's one of the things that is changed. If the batch is not ready, yeah, we had a big warning on this. Do not consolidate checks on block proc ready, batch ready, as they are written by make vector. When it is finished, either block proc ready has been set false because the block is done being processed, or batch ready is set true, or both. Okay, well, if this is removed, then we no longer need the comment that goes with it. But okay, so I think what's happening is, did make vector get name changed? Oh, okay. I think what I'm seeing is a lot of things got their names changed. Right. So, did we ever determine that this was really clearing it? Block prog ready? By calling something or otherwise? Okay, there. There! Remind me to do something about. Yeah, we're going to start doing this a little more. Just because we like to make the code noisier. But also, I think, again, it's like what's good for humans and AIs is good for us in the long run. Everything, even if it doesn't necessarily have to do this, but if you do that, maybe the AI will be encouraged to pick up on it and do it as well. Let's see what is going on here. That's right. Fine, 2 steps. On the water. Q10. I think this is probably already there, just like that. But we're gonna clean it up. We're gonna clean it up some more. Because that's all. Just because. As much as you get. I'm a little bit weird this way. Generate trajectory points from block. So yeah, we could get more, maybe more documentation at the top of these explaining what they do and why. I could ask the AI to do it, or I could ask the author to do it. What do you think? Which should I do? Let's give it to the AI and see what it makes of it. I mean, it's always an interesting experiment anyway, to just see whether or not AI will choke on Marlin's code base, because it's always right on the verge, it feels like, Let's pull up and we're looking at ftmotion.cpp. Let's open it in a, yes we are, ftmotion.cpp. Let's see what it makes of this function. You can see actually it's not such a bad file. It's short, nothing. So let's see, I've got it here somewhere. I have, right now I'm using GitHub Copilot, and there's been so many changes lately, I haven't really been keeping up. Code completions included, manage paid premium, etc., workspace index, all files, C++. Next edit suggestions, snooze, interesting, you can hide completions for 5 minutes. That's interesting. Okay, well, I believe, if I remember right, the thing was you just go to the command thing and say Copilot. Let's not explain. Let's generate docs. How much docs? Oh, is it docking like crazy or what? Oh, it's docking. You wanted docs. Man, you're getting way too many docs. Okay, cut that out. That's not what I wanted. Stop that. I wasn't expecting that, obviously. But that's because I'm a fool. I should have known what to expect. Why are you doing trial and error on your stream, man? All right, here we go. Let's do it again. So I want to add selection to chat. Let's add this whole Let's add this whole function to the chat. Let's just do that. Oop. Okay. Wait, what? No. That's cool though. It's got a little plus sign for discussions. Okay, well, I think what I'm supposed to do, and this is maybe not the best UI, let's be honest, because you can't always do this. I think I'm supposed to drag it down to select the entire thing, and now I can discuss it. There's probably a shift click thing that I can do as well. I just didn't think to do it, but let's try it. Start discussion, make code suggestion. Oh, this is, wait a minute. No, this is the GitHub thing. This has nothing to do with Copilot. Okay, sorry. We're gonna get here. We're gonna get here. My roommate's here running the tub again. Great. The running the shower is one thing. It has a water conserving shower head, so you can run it for a lot longer without wasting. But running the faucet is just crazy. Yeah, I'm human. I'm human. I'm living in a place. We got it. We got roommates, stuff. I'm in Austin, so it's expensive to live here. The rent in this place is less than 2,000, but it ends up costing more than that, of course, with everything added up. So, but for that I should be getting a house, right? Like I should be putting equity into a house or something. It's the life. It's the world we live in. What are you gonna do? I like cities and I like being around stuff, and yet I don't take as much advantage of it as I should. You know how it is. All right, let's do things. All right, let's just look in here and see if we can't find something to have run code analysis. No, I'm not going to do code. Add to codex chat. You know what? I have codex now. That would be interesting to add to codex and see what it does. Sign in with ChatGPT. Continue with API key. Oh, I was using it. Actually, I do have an API key, which I'm not going to use right now. That's pretty cool looking, though. Check out that. Nice. We'll get a closer look at it. Yeah. How about that? Codex. Boom. Pretty cool. Remote features disabled with API key. Yeah, I would end up using like one of my local models. Let's just see what I can get ChatGPT to do with this, or I should say Copilot, which is I think now using GPT-5 by default. Is its new thing? Refactor? I don't want to refactor. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Editor inline chat. Explain, fix, review, and comment. Yeah, let's do that. I think this is cool. I mean, it's built to kind of like base its reviews on how GitHub reviewers review things. So if there's good reviewers out there, then you're making better AI, and this will help. But if you're not, they get better. Let's see. So in general, check out what it does. Let's take a look. The function lacks descriptive comment. Yeah, that's what I'm asking for. Let's do that. That's exactly what I came here for. Yeah. Let's see if it's correct. Apply and go to next, please. I like this way of doing it. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to block off a piece of code, but so yeah, that first one is good. Interpolates a single trajectory point, data point into stepper commands. Right. The index of the trajectory to convert. This function calculates the required stepper movements for each axis based on the difference between the current and previous trajectory points and fills the stepper buffer. Cool, it kind of uses my style. Does a little bit of doxygen a little bit, but not in a very loud way. I think that's fine, honestly. Let's go. You know, it's loose. It's not doxygen, but it's not doxygen. Next one is the macro set last is defined inside the function. Yeah, I know. We do that. We do that. I'm going to discard and go to next. We do that for the reason of asserting that it's really only going to be used here. It's kind of like, I know it's not semantically meaningful, but it's meaningful in terms of the code, just coders who are going through and trying to see, oh, this only applies in this little one area. I'm not expecting to see another reference lower down. It might be overkill, but again, everything we do is bloody overkill. All right. Next one was it's defined inside the function. Again, discard and go to next. Discard, go to next. Okay, this one. The assignment CMD equals 0 may not be portable if ft command t is not a plain integer type. Yeah. Use type safe zeroing method. It's a struct or a class, which would be mem set to 0. Oh. Well, another way to do it would just be to have the thing, if it's a particular type, then yeah, so right in there, command is 0 and is a reference to that object. Yeah, I mean, we just, in this scenario, we know that it is type and that we need a reference to it. We want to modify it. We want to set it to 0 and also want to do something a little bit else later, I guess. Down. Maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, we're also modifying it here. So it's really about, again, this is one of those things where code review is like, I push back against the review. I'm like, well, if I can justify this, sometimes I'll do this and I'll be like, there you go, I've come up with a really good explanation. I'll wash my hands and then I'll walk away. And then later on, I'll be like, they probably have a better argument than I do. I'm going to just put it aside and take it as it is. But the thing is, if we know our types and we know that setting it to 0 is allowable here, and we know that if we had a type that it's allowable, then we've implemented something to do that. It's C++ after all. So let us discard and go to next. Let's see what else it suggests. Logical access map is not immediately clear without context. So yeah, it applies the run access macro to each logical axis, updating the step counts and command bits for all axes based on the accumulated error. This macro is expected to handle all axes defined in the firmware configuration. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. But I think we'll go for a shorter comment in the long run. I think we'll go for discard and go to next. And then the last one is the wraparound logic does not check for buffer overflow. If the command buff catches up to consume index, then we have an error. So if it equals, yeah, command side. So instead of this, it's suggesting this. Get the next index, and if then do the handling of making sure it doesn't wrap around. And then we're also saying if the next one is the consume index, then it's full and we can't write the command. I believe we have safeguards to make sure that these things can't overlap. So this may be unnecessary here. It's like, yeah, it's not every piece of code that you write is going to be safe in the place where you write it. It'll be something, whatever is keeping this safe, we'll do it outside of it. And we could maybe be better to put a comment on it about that. But yeah, I like the general review there. I think that's pretty cool. So I think in this case, though, looking at it, check for buffer overrun before writing. Well, let's discard that and take a look again at the code that we were just reviewing. Oh, once again, generate steps from trajectory. It has strangely stuck these in here. Not sure why. I don't think they belong. And let's use that tense rather than the other one. There. So the other thing was, I think we define it here. That's, I mean, in some ways fine. I mean, maybe it would be better to, I'm looking at it. What are you suggesting? New next edit suggestion. Interesting. X reject, check accept. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Oh yeah, this was I was going to make a mention of what this does. Can't hurt, I suppose. But also that needs a semicolon at the end. I do believe. Well, it already has one, but another one can't hurt for the sake of your dumb parsers that are like, hey, that should have a semicolon. Either way, the extra semicolon doesn't hurt anybody. This, however, this loop looks to me like it's supposed to be containing all these things. Well, this clearly needs to be defined up. Loop, at the very least. Okay, what happened? Did it reflow? Oh, just that one line. Okay, here we go. Code day, another code day. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this on YouTube more. The Twitch thing was fine, but nobody showed up, and this at least announces things to more subscribers than I have on Twitch. So maybe a bit of both, and maybe I can figure out a way to use like StreamYard or something to do both at the same time. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's always a process. That's a fine coffee. All right. No, it's after 9. I'm going to be continuing this for another few minutes, and then I'll be signing off. I just really wanted to let you all know I'm still alive. We're still going. There's links in the description below, which you should check out for helping us out. You know, buy me a coffee or whatever you can hope to afford. Um, and if you like the content that I'm going to be producing, then jump in. Tell your friends. If you like retro stuff, if you like electronic stuff, if you like the combination and exploring of these things, I'm going to be working on. I really want to write a. I was thinking about a 6502 Atari game, in spite of the limitations compared to say the C64, Commodore 64. The Atari is pretty cool. It's what I cut my teeth on as a kid. I wrote a printer driver one time. Like I really got. I mean, I got down to the metal with that thing. I did it all the right way. Just install it and callbacks, all hooks everywhere, and it did the right thing to like write the right bits to the printer, and it was just like totally pro, totally pro. And I was only 16 years out when I was doing that. So clever kid, fried his brains. No, too much caffeine, too much Marlin, too much 3D printing. Um, but yeah, this will be a nice alternative. I know a lot of people are hungry for, like I go on YouTube and I'm like, Marlin's nowhere to be seen. Like the level at which we've been operating as rep rappers is like it's no longer there. Damn, we need to bring it back. That's what. That's why I titled this video "Rep Rap Lives," um, and I'm not I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go. Uh, I can't help but it's hard. I want to in a way like run away and be like, no, funding is gone. I can't do anymore. It's not worth it. But it's always been worth it, man. You guys, as a community, it's been great. The developers, the people who assist have been awesome. Every contributor, everyone who makes suggestions, um, and then companies who have been helping us along, Big Tree Tech and Gravity and Prusa and others along the way. Like we know things are changing, and that everyone has to adjust with the times. So I'm willing to accept that, and just like I'll adjust with the times too. Of always being able to uh, adjust and adapt. And I accepted a new challenge. It'll be a chance to get out and meet more people and do new. Uh, I don't know. And again, as I say, I'm going to be working with retro games, and I know that everyone loves that stuff, right? Not everyone, maybe, but these days there's a lot of nostalgia. We're looking at, we're counting the years, and we're looking at like 40 years, 50 years for some of these systems. Like, wow, the Apple II or whatever has been around for forever. They're almost 50 years old, and just seeing that they're still kicking, and then being able to be involved in that and out is just so fun. So I'm gonna keep it up. I'm gonna keep it up. You. uh, and do what I can to make this stuff better all the time. Uh, and again, I talk about the code, but it's really again, it's about the front end. It's about the user experience. It's about making things clearer to you. I've learned a lot in the process of maintaining this project. Certainly about like things like GitHub and just like Jekyll for your websites and things like that. When I used to do more CRM or content management system CMS, yeah, CMS type sites. I'm moving away from that, and I'm moving my own site is going to be like I'm going to archive the CMS, and I'm going to move over my content to just Markdown, Jekyll, keep it simple, put everything in folders and just go, and upload your changes and be done with it. I don't need a lot of dynamic stuff. I'm going to put some Ajax in there for like, and then make you know, my blobs will have a summary and full thing, so that way the summary can be shown. But so things like that will be done, but they'll be done in a structured way, just typing it, because you have to type it out anyway. That's the crux of the thing. Like you want to get rid of your distractions and just type the text, and
it's nice to just type it wherever. I can type it anywhere and use like a markdown editor or an editor that like is natively markdown that doesn't show you the markdown while you're editing. And when you're done, it saves it as markdown. I'm going to kind of work with that more. So yeah, it's going to be really fun. And I actually have a couple of good markdown editors. So if anyone else has suggestions of good markdown editors, I'd be down to try them out. Um, and yeah, my old site was built in Drupal, which uses certain version of PHP, and maybe it's not compatible in a certain Apache that and MySQL, and it's a big stack and it's a big hassle to set up. And just when I see that it's daunting to work on, I'm like, or upgrade or do whatever, I'm like, might as well just move to Jekyll and make it simple, build a whole new site and have my old site archived and bring in the parts that I care about uh, at first, and then little by little expand, bring in older content. And meanwhile, you can get it on archive.org, right? But I don't know. I have a lot of files that might be useful to download if you wanted to download older PPC apps or Intel apps or things from older times. Um, I'm looking to revive some of my applications again. You know, Marlin is not necessarily going to bring in enough revenue, so I have to do more shareware again. So I'm exploring looking at my older stuff and seeing if it's worth reviving. Um, there's a cool thing now called I keep forgetting the name of it, Strudel, which is for it's a cool app. Well, I can show you. I'll give you a quick look at this thing called Strudel I've been playing with, but it's a website, a REPL, and it has this cool note, information here, but this weird notation that you do, and then it's music though, and it's all about rhythm and music, and you set up some pattern that is going to fit in your whatever period of time, like one cycle of time, and then you can use commas to say, oh, this is one pattern that's going to go in that time, and this other pattern is going to go in that amount of time. So this one, and then you're going to have things that are like alternatives, which so pointy braces. So it's a whole, like, what is, once you know what it means, it's kind of easy to understand. But at first, it's like, what is going on? But and you can decide, oh, I want to play this pattern, but I want to play it on the C major scale, and then change key, so it moves that same chord pattern but on different scales. So with that same set of notes in the scale as is counted here. And so you can use a particular sound, and then you can have a pitch wheel, and then when you play it, it looks like, you know, it looks like this. You may not hear it right now because it's coming out of a small speaker on my computer, but it kind of like shows what's going on as it goes. So that's pretty cool. And then you can, like, because you can see it as it's playing, you can, and then you can type while it's playing and modify it while it's playing. It gives you that feedback, and you can like tweak all day. Trying to make a complete song that has a beginning, middle, end, bridge, middle eight, the whole thing, that's tricky. Like, I haven't really figured that out yet. What I'd kind of like to do is set up a project where it has like that whole structure all laid out, and then I would start to fill in the middle pieces. And like that would be a good way to work, probably from the top down. So I'm gonna learn as we go, but this will be a thing I'll play with, and this is useful again for uh, your retro. Again, why is this relevant to retro? Well, when you're trying to make, say, interesting music and sounds, it's like you can't always hire someone to make it, but you probably will for some of these things I'm making. But you want to be able to make some of your own content, at least as filler. And then for things like these streams, I tried to find royalty-free stuff, and there probably is more I can explore. But I grabbed a pile and I tried to use it on Twitch, and I got like, oh, part of your stream was silenced because of a copyright infringement, or like it matched some content ID somewhere. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to keep having to deal with that. So if I just make my own tracks out of this, and then make them real mellow, like lo-fi stuff that runs in the background, kind of like stuff you hear on other streams, and then maybe I can share it with others. But yeah, it'd be fun to make this. But in terms of retro, yeah, like I've been using tracker type software, like um, there's one called oh, what is it called now? No, I can never quite remember. It is called. Oh right, there it is. Sunvox, of course. That one is free on desktop, I believe. Um, so I highly recommend you try that one out if you're into trackers. But yeah, it allows you to like basically set up instruments with envelopes and all that kind of stuff, and then create sequences with them, and it's all done in tracker format, and then you can create patterns of those sequences. And so, as you can imagine, or sequences of those patterns and then sequences. Yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, and then you can just combine them all together and make compositions. So that's that's the way we build things. But I totally recommend you check out Sunvox as well. But yeah, like if you're into, that's another thing we'll be covering here is like that intersection of music and pixel art or other things. I'll be showing off things that I've been working on in that regard. Um, some of the stuff that I've been letting AI help me with has been in that area, and like seeing what it can. If I give it a document about say Atari Basic, can it retain what it's seen and then tell me things? And it does a pretty good job. Different LLMs will have different results, but I'm finding that's kind of cool. And uh, again, for Marlin, I was very optimistic early on. Oh, these LLMs are magic, and I'll get them to become experts and answer questions, and they weren't there yet. Uh, they might be getting there at this point, as long as I write up good documentation. And again, I need to have the LLMs help me with that and actually do it in you know manageable chunks. There's so many projects I have like unfinished on the back burner, but we'll tackle each and every one of them for fun here, and I'll try to share them. I think that's probably the other thing is like I've been thinking a lot is like when I'm feeling that low self-esteem and having health issues or whatever, it's like I don't want to get on and turn on the camera and share with you guys because it might be I'm just not feeling it or whatever. But it's like but at the same time I'm day to day I'm doing all these interesting things to distract myself or have fun, and I'm like this stuff would be interesting to a lot of you guys. I know it would. So that's what I want to do is share a lot of that with you more. So I'll be doing that. Anyway, let me. What was I going to bring up? One more thing. The one more thing. Oh yeah, that thing. This little. I'll show you this little retro thing I was working on. It's fun. You may be familiar with the TI-99 4A. It wasn't one I had. It wasn't one of the computers I had, but my friend had one, and there was a game on it called Tombstone City, which I liked. And so I with my Atari and not much, in the way of game. I don't think I even had any games at the time. It sounded like maybe Seamus on tape or something. And I was like, I really liked his game, and I was like, well, I can write that. So I started, writing it in BASIC and saving it to tape, and I got a pretty good version working of it back in the day. But then I saved it to tape one day, and then I went to load it again, and it never would load. So I lost it basically, all this work. But I had the logic of the enemies and everything was really good. It was pretty solid. I was like, not bad for a 13, whatever, 14-year-old kid. Um, so, we're all pretty clever at that age. So, uh, anyway, I was having a lot of fun with that. But I built a thing called Bullwhip, which actually is currently on my desktop over here. But I might be able to just run it this way using Spotlight. There it is. So there you go. And an N4A emulator. But I also have on my desktop somewhere here. Hold on. Got some game carts I can load onto it. And I believe I have to do it from here for a particular reason. Yeah, for some reason or another, it wouldn't load the cart when I would try to load it from other locations. But if I do it from this one spot on my desktop, it's fine. So go figure. There might be that there's a space in the path or something. I'll have to look at it closer. But let me grab it. Tombstone. Where'd you go? Hold on, it's in cart pack. I was looking in the wrong place. Okay, here we go. Tombstone City. Boom. So you may have seen this game. So let's turn off the music though. Um, so press one, and so simple thing. Oh, you move around, shoot little dudes, shoot tumbleweeds, shooty shoot, and it's you can tell it's primitive. Everything stops when you're shooting. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's like someone wrote it in BASIC, but it's probably written in assembler. Um, but so you can see why I would pick this as something to do in BASIC when I was a kid. Like it should be easy to do, right? So I didn't show the picture of this to the AI yet, but I described it and wrote up a document and went through a lot of iterations with it and talked to the open web UI about it, and I went through all these, many iterations here with Mistral and DeepSeek and GPT OSS. And my first conversation with GPT OSS was actually one of the better ones. It gave me a nice looking script with all kinds of, didn't give me perfect sprites or anything, but it did what I told it to, which was like, give me just bitmaps, little like, binary things that I can fill in and describe, it'll just be in the code. It'll make, because they're all one color, so it's like easy. Of course, it'd be easy to make these multicolor by adding more than just 1 and 0. So anyway, I'll get around to that eventually. But yeah, this worked pretty well, and I have a demo, which is like about where I got with it. Which is, let's see, I'll make a new terminal for this here. CD projects retro. Where is it? Um, where is it on desktop? Uh, retro. Retro. Um, didn't know where my bloody projects are. Oh, maybe it is on I know what to do. Tombstone. Cut that out. Come on now. Surely I've got it in my history somewhere. Um, oh, there it is. V5. Oops. Where is it? Oh, you're here somewhere. Oh, I haven't rebuilt my locate database. Hold on. I'm sure it's just projects. No. Desktop projects. Retro. Tombstone. Maybe it is in my AI folder. Because I did go through a lot of different iterations. Yeah, there it is. Doi. Conda activate. Bulk, please. Okay. There we go. Sorry about the wait. Yeah, how's it looking? Pretty good. I just picked up an Atari Classic font and threw it in the bottom there. Um, Tried doing some kind of scaling on it, and I believe it's like scaling it up like 8 times or something. And the idea was if I could find a font that would match closer something, and then scale it, it would always look pixelated rather than having to find a font that's already pixelated. But yeah, so this is all I have really working at this point. It doesn't shoot or anything. One of the other demos that the AI did build did have shooting that worked. That was pretty cool. But I just threw this together from humble beginnings. So it gave me as much as it gave me the motion, it gave me the yellow background. The colors weren't right. It didn't give me the sprites, of course, they weren't right. But it did give me, obstacles and movement. So I was pretty impressed overall with the start, and tile mapped it all. And I've been building on what it gave me originally, and then asking for a little guidance here and there. Uh, but it's not like super magic or anything. But the point here is not necessarily to learn to write stuff in Pygame, although that's fun. But I wanted to prototype stuff in Pygame that was retro-y, and then port this over to the Atari. But as I thought about it, I'm like, well, the Atari wouldn't do so well with this game, because this is like, surprisingly enough, the TI-94A has a better, in terms of colors per dot, resolution than the Atari does. Like, this does 30 by 8, 240 by probably 240 by 240, something like that. And that, but it does it with multiple colors. So I should say the TI-994A does. And the Atari, at that resolution, can only do one color. Got like 160 where you can get multiple colors. And then there's some weird modes where, yeah, I don't even want to talk about the weird modes. So yeah, it'll be an interesting challenge. But anyway, it's, again, this is all just stay limber. My first love is Marlin. That's what I'm really here for. Keeping this going. And making sure that it is mature and ready for the next generation. With that, I am gonna leave you guys. So thank you for stopping by. I love you. And we'll talk about this sort of stuff more